You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Hey everybody, it's Tracy Randolph, and we are here for another episode of The Whole Living Show. I was backstage jamming to my own opener because I love the music, and also to that wonderful commercial for the weekly dose of Dano. I don't know how you guys can't rock out when you hear the music for these commercials, but I do. So listen, as always, I have an amazing guest waiting backstage, and boy, oh boy, we want to get to her story. But I have something funny to show everybody out there. I was scrolling a little bit on a fitness site on Instagram, and just check out this video.
Vamos, mis amores, que tú puedes. Llegó tececito caliente, mis amores. Vamos con nuestro ejercicio. Vamos, mis amores, que tú puedes. Dale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vamos, mis amores, que tú puedes. Dale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vamos, mis amores. Esta es la vecina que puede. Dale, mis amores. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vamos, mis amores, que tú puedes. Dale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vamos, mis amores, que tú puedes. Dale. 1, 2.
I don't know about you, but that just makes me crack up. And listen, I understand a little bit of Spanish, but my beautiful guest speaks Spanish and told me what they're saying. So she's saying, let's go, my love. You can do this. And then she's counting, right? But listen, this is a Reset Coach service announcement. Ladies, do not try this at home. And these two beautiful women in this video are using broomsticks. You're going to get splinters, number one. Okay. Number two, they are in motion. And you guys know we talked about keeping your body in motion, but that is not the way to do it. So if you want to strengthen your core, reach out to me, your Reset Coach. We will not do it this way. We will not give you splinters. I do not want you to go through this. These women are amazing on this video. And maybe they were just having fun doing this, because that's what people do on social media. Sometimes they're just doing things for fun. I hope they got a lot of views on this because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I don't know if they were playing or not, and I hope that they got the results that they wanted from this. I would love to see the after videos of this, but I'm going to tell you here, don't try this at home, okay? Reach out to me if you want to strengthen your core. So listen, without further ado, after that funny video, I want to introduce my amazing guest. Boy, oh boy. So me and this beautiful woman, we met on a virtual conference. and had the opportunity to have a virtual coffee and speak and just connected and clicked really right away. She's absolutely amazing. She's so honest and so raw and so real. Absolutely love her personality. She's amazing. She's doing some really great things. So I don't want to delay this. I'm going to introduce her and we're going to bring her in and get into this raw and real conversation. This is Marilyn Morales. She is a board certified holistic registered nurse with over 30 years of experience in the healthcare field. Marilyn is the host of a new show, and you guys got to listen to her show, Unscripted. And this really goes with your personality too, Marilyn. Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Unscripted can be seen on YouTube, Anchor, and heard on Spotify weekly on Sundays, as well as CTF TV. Marilyn has launched her book, When the Answer is No, Finding Purpose Through Pain, in January of 2023. So you want to make sure that you go out and get the book as well. This journey takes you through her experience with PTSD, after her experience in 9/11 in New York, and her grief after losing her beautiful daughter, Isabella, to a rare leukemia. And we're going to get into this conversation with her too, because there's so much that goes with this. As a holistic wellness advisor and speaker, Marilyn's passion is education, teaching others how to heal and move forward from emotional traumas of grief and PTSD using holistic methods as a guide. You guys know that I love that. Marilyn also strives to carry on Isabella's legacy by shedding light on the need for diversity in the National Be the Match Registry. And we are going to talk about that too as well, because Marilyn really schooled me on, some of the disparities that are out there. So we're going to talk about that also. Marilyn is the president of the nonprofit, organization, Izzy's Legacy Incorporated. And Izzy's Legacy, is dedicated to increasing diversity and representation on the National Bone Marrow Registry through education, in addition to providing financial support to individuals on a cancer journey. And for my audience out there who knows I am a cancer survivor, so passionate about what Marilyn is doing. And I want to talk about this a couple times during the show, Marilyn. So we're going to mention this here now, because Marilyn has a fundraiser coming up in September, on September 16th. And I think it's worth mentioning it a few times, because I want you guys out there to support what she is doing. Look at that picture of her beautiful daughter. This is Izzy's Legacy. And as mentioned, she is helping people who are fighting cancer. So we want to make sure that we get behind her on this. And you have time. It's September 16th. So there's a QR code right there, or you can go to izzyslegacyinc.org and you can donate, or you can buy your ticket and join us there on September 16th. Me and my son will be there as well. So let's get into the conversation, Marilyn. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you for being here and joining me today. But I want you to talk a little bit about, before we go into what's coming, I want you to talk a little bit about, your story, your journey, and why you're so passionate in doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. Like you mentioned, we both click. We have so many things in common, right? That immediately when I heard your story, I was like, this is a person that I need to meet. Right. So as you say, I am very honest, upfront, everything. What I say, what I mean what I say. Right. Yeah. So, and when it comes to the education of, and the majority of nurses, right. So in my role now, I do a lot of educating of newer nurses. That is absolutely my approach. And I think there's so much information out there. And one of the reasons that the disparity exists is the lack of education to the Hispanic, Black communities, right? Even though the education is out there, we need to reach people where they are. We need to go out to those communities. We need to represent. We need to speak in their language, right? So that they now trust the information that's being provided to them. It's not just on a screen. It's not just on a pamphlet.
Yeah. And tell me, why do you think our communities don't go out and seek the knowledge?
I think the primary reason is the mistrust of the medical community, right? Historically, unfortunately, our heritage is that things were done to us, right? They were done to our ancestors. And these stories get passed on. Well, this happened to me and that happened to me, and don't trust. So we start to raise our children with that same mindset, right? And we never break those generational chains.
Yeah.
So we don't educate ourselves. We don't educate our children. So we cause a lot of our own issues by doing that. Education is power.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to be your own advocate and you want to make sure that when you go to a physician or someone medical, that you're armed with information, that you've educated yourself, and not through Wikipedia, not through TikTok,
right.
not through these platforms where a regular person is saying and they're only sharing a little snapshot, their own experience. You need to educate yourself a little bit more about things so that you're armed with that when you are being your own advocate.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. I can remember when I was pregnant and, just not knowing anything about being pregnant. And I kept looking things up and doing Google searches and then I would always take the information back to my doctor. But he said, don't take everything that you read, right, online to be true. He's like, whatever. He's like, I'm not telling you not to do the research, but always bring it back to me so that we can discuss it. So, from then on, I was always a researcher anyway, but I always like to ask the questions so that I can advocate for myself and get some information. So when Marilyn is saying, don't look on the Wikipedias, and if you get a piece of information, make sure that you're taking it back to the professionals so that you can kind of decipher what's right for you, because information, and you tell me, from right, you've been in the healthcare space for a long time, information out there is general, right? That's right. And healthcare is specific to an individual, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think that that's one of the most impactful things that you say, right? So things are not cookie cutter. So there's this general information, but we all respond very differently, just like medications, right? We all respond differently to medication. While one person may not have any kind of side effects, the other person may have everything listed under the sun, right? And that's why they list all these things. So everybody's experience is going to be unique. I always say that you have to take everything with a grain of salt. You have to do your education, listen to your gut. We all have that intuitive piece inside of us. And that's where my holistic background comes in, that I have to say, wait a minute, does this resound with me? Does this sound like something that my body is going to respond favorably to, right? Is this right for me? The COVID vaccine was a big controversy for all different people, myself included. Initially, I was resistant to it. In my gut, in my instinct, felt like it's going to be safe for me. It's going to be okay for me. And as a one of those people that were on the front lines, it was going to help protect me. And I knew that inside of me. So as I'm reading everything and hearing people's accounts, something inside of me was going, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Listen to that. And the same time, something can be brought to me and I'm feeling that's not good for you. You're not going to be okay. I need to listen to that too. So we need to learn to listen with our own bodies, as you know, right? You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I won't tell people have heard my story on here, right? I won't tell my story, but I love what you say when you're saying, learn to listen and what resounds with you, because I had the opposite experience with the COVID vaccination where I knew I shouldn't take it. And it was more like God was telling me, COVID's not going to be the thing that takes you out. And I was like, wow, okay, that being said, and because that came to me, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this. This is not the right thing for me personally. And I want to just mention that too, since we're talking about it, just for people to understand that, people were shaming people for taking it or not taking it, right? There was like two different sides. Yeah. But you
can't win either way.
Yeah. And you have to do what works for you and what works for your body. So thank you for saying that. I wanted to ask you too, why holistic nursing? Like, why did you choose to be a board certified holistic nurse?
And the funny story is that as I was, so historically, like my grandmother would help heal your body through the herbs and things that she would grow in her garden, right? She would always tell me, get rid of those pills and those antibiotics that they're trying to give you. The earth makes all these things that can help your body heal itself. Your body has the ability to heal itself. I was always hearing that from her, right? Old school Puerto Rico, this is what they used. Our medications come from the earth, right? They come from these plants and things. But she says there's safer ways to do this. And she would always try this. And as I became a nurse at the age of 17, I was already a licensed practical nurse. So I went into it very early. I was 15. actually when I started the program in high school.
Oh,
So there was
wow.
a specialized high school in New York City called Clara Barton High School,
Mhm.
where you would go into nursing, right? And you would explore that field. And at the end of it, you would sit for your boards and become a nurse.
Mhm.
So my science mind was like, that's not going to work, right? I was always at odds with her.
Mhm.
But when push came to shove, it was her stuff that was actually working for me. When the medicines wouldn't work, and I would say, I'm sick, I'm not
Mhm.
getting better. It was the things that she was doing. And that always stuck in the back of my mind, right?
Mhm.
The reason why holistic, after I had my daughter Isabella, who was diagnosed with cancer. When I was pregnant with her, I was 38 years old. I was considered advanced maternal age, right? So when that happens, they send you to a genetic counselor, right, to see if you trigger for anything. So we went on our appointment, and the only thing that they said to me that I triggered for highly was cancer. So I said to them at that time, I don't know what to do with that information. I'm not going to terminate my pregnancy based on that. I have 2 other children and they're very healthy. I'm healthy. My husband's healthy. I'm not going to do anything with that information. Thank you very much. And I left. I didn't even ask any questions or talk to them about it, right? Not even knowing that the child I was carrying was going to be diagnosed with cancer very soon.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward, after losing her, I'm now pregnant with my 4th child, Lorenzo, right? Same thing. I'm now 42 years old. I'm advanced maternal age. They're again telling me go to genetic counseling. I end up going back and seeing the very same doctors who saw me the last time. This team of doctors was the same one. And I said, you know what? I didn't listen to you last time. I'm listening now. What am I supposed to do with that information? They said, you live your life different, right? So you try to decrease the chemical burden in your home so that that key that turns on that causes cancer doesn't turn on in you or your family. You eat whole foods. You don't eat chemical, processed. You eliminate those things because that also increases your chance of developing cancer. So the things that you come in contact with every day, and you also have to learn how to limit your stress because that's a key that can turn on cancer. So start doing things like aromatherapy, meditation, all those things are going to help your body stay well. So it's prevention versus treatment. And that's when my
Yeah.
began with that.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you talk about the things that you can do that are going to allow you to take care of your body, even outside of just like food and exercise. People always think about food and exercise, but what about those other things? So you mentioned the aromatherapy and the meditation and the things that reduce your stress. And we talked about this on your show as well about those high levels of stress. So I love that you said that. But tell us about, now the journey with Izzy, and what happened there, and how you decided to approach that journey.
So the journey began at the age of 7 months old. She was diagnosed with a very rare leukemia, one that could not be treated by chemotherapy. Never heard of it. I'm a nurse and I never heard of a lot of these things or terms, right? So as they're trying to explain this to me, I had saved her cord blood. And I thought that, that was one of the things they said could treat if, God forbid, you develop leukemia in the future. And out of all my children, she was the only one I had saved her cord blood. So I was like, great, I have this cord blood. Can it be used? And they said, absolutely not. Unfortunately, due to the rarity of the disease, there's a chance that that information could be in her DNA in that cord blood. So it would just relapse. So we can't use it. Right. So she's diagnosed and we're told the only treatment for this particular cancer is a bone marrow transplant. And they first looked at my other 2 children and said, and those 2 are her best chance of getting one and having the least amount of side effects because they match her genetically. So they were tested and unfortunately, heartbreakingly, not a match for her. They were only half matches, as was my husband and myself. Not enough to go forward with a transplant. So now we're told, okay, now you have to search outside of here to this registry where people get on there and volunteer to donate their stem cells, their bone marrow for someone in need. Right. But they were like, but we have to tell you right off the bat that there is a low presence of Hispanics within that registry. So we need you to get on TV, get in the newspaper, start having drives because her match may not be out there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where I first learned of that, So I said, no matter what happened, I had saved all the information of our testing. Right. And at the time, I could go into a database and enter our HLA typing, which is what you're looking for. It's a protein on your cells that produce all the cells in your body. And you have to match that in order so that you don't reject the transplant. So I took that information, entered it into the registry, saw that Isabella did have matches out there, as did my husband. But when I looked at myself and my other 2 children, we had 0 matches out there. There was no one out there for us. So I was like, crazy.
Yeah. And I just want people to really recognize the importance of what you're saying, right? Because, if our families, in the minority community, if we're faced with this, we have to understand that there's such a huge difference in, being able to get a match for a transplant, or a bone marrow transplant or some other type of transplant, because that we're just not in the database. Talk a little bit about that, though, because is it more so that, like you were mentioning earlier, our cultures are just, we just have so much psychology around, medicine, they don't do things for us, our history with medicine and how they use us as test dummies, right? Like there's a lot out there. And I'm using these words because this is what I hear from people when it comes to healthcare and what's happening in the system for our cultures. So is it more so that people are not educated and they just don't put themselves out there? If they want to donate blood or something else, they just don't put themselves out there in order for us to have the matches that we need when, issues arise.
Like I say, it's a volunteer situation, right? So you have to volunteer. And if you are called to be a match to someone, what happens after that? Yeah. So there are so many different things that I hear as I go around. So I had drives. I said, no matter what happened, when I saw that, I said, no matter what happens with Isabella, we have to continue to bring awareness to that. So we did that on a smaller scale, right? And we would have drives. And as we were having drives, people would ask me, oh, you're going to take my blood today? No, it's a simple swab of the cheek, of the inside of your cheek, easier than brushing your teeth. And now that we've all been through COVID with swabs up our noses, right?
Right.
That's traumatic. That's traumatic. This is not traumatic at all. You take a little cells off your cheek and they utilize that. They send that off to the lab to see if that you have those protein that will match someone else. If you're found to be a match, you get a phone call and then you'll go through additional testing to see if you match that person at a higher level. So this is a preliminary level, right? That they have to use. But they asked me, are they going to take my blood? It used to be that you had to take bone marrow from a hip bone. They would have to go into the bone and extract it. That's no longer the case. 90% of the cases, it is just like giving blood, donating plasma, right? If you go, I've ever had that done. It's as simple as that. They extract the stem cells from there. They put it into the other person. Simple, right? A little bit of downtime on your end. But I hear, what are you going to do with my DNA once you grab it? What are you going to do with that? Right? So that's the other mistrust. What are you doing with my information? Or, I don't know. Some people are illegal immigrants, right? So they're afraid they're going to get caught and the government's going to come and get them. It's another thing I hear.
And now I will say, right, I'm going to stop there because, the prior administration, that was a valid concern, right?
Yes, it was.
Not so much now, but definitely a concern. So I'm just thinking about, when you're talking about people going out there, do you also think that there's a little bit of, I don't want to make this sound horrible, right? But a little selfishness when it comes to in our communities, when it comes to, being able to donate or wanting to donate, right? Because it's a volunteer situation, as it should be. But at the same time, there are so many people out there that need help. So,
there is a selfishness with it. 100% is a selfishness about it. And until it happens to you, and unless you know somebody, you don't really take the time to get yourself until you hear me come in front of you and tell you my story and say, you know what, every 3 minutes, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Every 3 minutes. Imagine that. That can happen to anybody at any time. And I will share with you, my daughter had leukemia. My father has multiple myeloma, a different kind of blood cancer. One of my first cousins, who was Isabella's godfather, had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, another blood cancer. So for me, this is personal. I just had 3 people right? 3 people
Yeah.
in my own family, close family, with a
Yeah.
blood cancer. This can happen any moment. From 1 minute to the next, my life changed like this. That
Yeah.
can happen to you too. Don't wait for that to happen to try to fight to find this. I had no idea either, right?
Yeah.
Now, I had joined the registry at the age of 25 years old, very young. I had heard a story of a little girl who was in need of a match at church. So they were having a drive. I heard the story. I told my husband at the time, we were newly married, let's go downstairs. Let's join. Big deal. Let's go get the swab. Let's go join the registry. So we've been on the registry for years. We've never been called. Right? That's
And
not.
I think, yeah, that is another thing. But I think also, and I'm glad that you mentioned it a little bit earlier, to take a little bit of the fear away behind it, right? And some of the selfishness behind it is understanding that now the technology doesn't warrant you to have a needle put in your hip and taking it directly from your bone, right? Because there's some fear aligned with that, right? It sounds scary to me, even what I've gone through, but it sounds scary. So to understand that technology has changed and that it doesn't have to go that way, so that you can give blood and they can take it directly from your blood. Because I think if people understand that, even, it's like, okay, then that's a no-brainer. You have to give blood all the time just to do testing, right? So it's simple now. It's simple now. So
and usually when I share that information, they change their minds. And it's only a swab? I could do that. Give me the swab. I can do that. Very simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple to do, so easy. And usually with organ transplants, and your bone marrow is a organ, right? Someone has to pass away in order to give life to somebody else. And in this case, we are giving life in life. And we can do it multiple times. Isabella's donor actually was called 3 times for 3 different people, right? And he said yes every single time. So imagine.
Wow.
So much that we can do.
Yeah, really, really powerful. Really, really powerful.
I also want to mention
that.
There's a financial aspect, right? So people think that if they have to do this, there's going to be some downtime. There's going to be a loss of income. How is it going to affect my body? And it's a real thing for us, right? For the working class, for us, it's real. If we miss 1 day of work, that's big. That's huge. So this is something that is covered by the person's insurance, right? So there's no cost to you at all. And to be the match, they also will assist with reimbursement if there's any kind of lost wages. They can also reimburse you for that. So there's absolutely no cost to you, and they will help you navigate through that just to have you help someone.
Yeah. And there isn't really any downtime now, right? Other than, the time that it takes for you to give blood and kind of just restore yourself with some nutrition, right?
Right. That's pretty much for the majority of the cases. Yeah. So Izzy's donor, I asked him how he felt, right? And he said, it felt like I was coming down with the flu a little bit, But then by the next day, he goes, I was up and running with my kids, like nothing ever happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm coming down with a cold. You feel a little different, right? Some people that give blood feel the same way. They get lightheaded. They don't feel great. And they usually take a day to recover. It's very similar to that. The other thing is that you have to go through additional testing. So once you're found to be a match, you do have to go for additional blood tests and a physical just to make sure that you're healthy enough to go ahead and do that, because you want the best possible outcome for the person receiving the donation.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that too, because that was going to be my next question. Like, are there any cases where people can't donate, right? Like, what are those scenarios where people can't donate?
Right. Let's say somebody's anemic, you have a history of cancer. There's like this whole disease criteria that's on there. So that when you're looking to sign up, it'll tell you, yeah, you can move forward, or no, you can't move forward. It is also right now, you have to join, you have to be between the ages of 18 and 40. Right. And it's not to discriminate against people that are older than 40, but it's for the best possible outcome for the person receiving it. Your cells are healthiest during that time period. And that's what you want, the healthiest possible cells, because the chemotherapy that has to be given to somebody who's receiving a transplant, they completely obliterate their own immune system. So they have nothing. Imagine being like that, right? You have nothing. And now you want the healthiest cells, because you don't want to have to go through this again. This is life-threatening. That procedure for them is life-threatening.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Yeah, thank you for that too. We're going to take a quick break, everybody. When we come back, I want to get into what's happening in September, and how people can get involved. so that we make sure that we do get this word out there, that, you know, we want to make sure that the people that need the matches get them. And Marilyn is doing this so that that can happen. So we want to talk about that. All right, we'll be right back.
Operate out of your dreams and your vision and not other people's expectation. Having breast cancer wasn't my choice, but the decision to live healthy so that I could stand before you here today, that's choice. You can choose this very moment to change your life from every perspective.
Tracy Randolph was our speaker. She came back because so many people liked her first presentation. I was one of those people that joined her fitness group, and it made me a better leader.
I grew up in a community, but they had limiting beliefs on what a little Black girl could do. Everything that you do in this life is a choice. I choose to live healthy. I choose to change my mindset. I choose to be everything that I dreamed of, because I choose faith and I choose me. Live healthy, be everything that you can be today. Choose yourself.
Hello, everybody, and we are back, and we are here with Marilyn Morales, and we are talking about Izzy's legacy. So listen, if you missed the first half of this show, you want to make sure that you go back and watch. Marilyn was giving some really great information on, you know, the disparities in healthcare and what we can do for ourselves in order to stay healthy, and how we can help others who need the help. So this is what we're going to get into now. Marilyn has an event coming up September 16th of this year, 2023. So let's talk about that. Talk about what's going to be happening on September 16th.
So I just started the nonprofit Izzy's Legacy Incorporated. Izzy's Legacy is all the lessons that I learned throughout that year that we were in the hospital treating her. I unfortunately did lose her a year after her diagnosis. She did get her transplant. She did do fantastically well. But as we all know, when you're immune suppressed, you're subject to have secondary infections. And that, unfortunately, is what took her life. Full circle moment is that my oldest daughter, who was 9 years old when she lost her sister, now works for Be the Match, that organization that helps you find the match. And she shared with me a year ago the story of a little Latina girl who no one was coming out to her drives for, versus two little Caucasian girls who had thousands of people show up for them. And it broke my heart. And I said, you know, mother should ever feel powerless like that. I know what that feels like. So I'm going to do something different so that we can have a different outcome. And it just fueled the fire in me that I decided that I was going to start a nonprofit so that I could now educate our people on the necessity of this, and that should never happen to one of our children, right? So that the purpose of it is for that. In addition to, we all know, you know, as well as I do, how expensive cancer is, right? There are medications that weren't covered by insurance. The loss of work and income that I had to have, as well as I'm sure you, causes a lot of financial hardship. So we want to be able to bless people the way we were blessed when we went through our journey as well. So the start of that nonprofit launch is September 16th, in honor of what would have been Isabella's 16th year of birth, right? She would have been 16 in March. So we're celebrating that. We're honoring her just like every mother celebrates their daughter's 16th. I'm honoring her by starting the nonprofit, by starting to raise funds for this very important mission. We have to change things, and it's up to us to do that. I want to share with your viewers statistics, because I think that's important, and that's what fueled me. Besides that story, is that if you are Caucasian, you have a 79% chance of finding your match in that registry, right, in the national registry. If you're Hispanic, that falls to 48%. If you're African American or Black, doesn't matter if you're African American, if you come from anywhere, that drops to 29%. That is unacceptable to me. And if you're of mixed ethnicity, and how many of us aren't mixed, right, within our own families, it's less than that. It's less than that. And when I heard those statistics that year, I was like, no, we got to do better. We have to do better.
Yeah. And look at that. I mean, 79 to 29 and then on down.
Come on.
That's such a huge difference. Yeah. And
Come on.
I'm a numbers person by
Me
trade,
too.
right? So
Look at
just
you. I
to
don't like
think
numbers,
about
but yeah.
just to think about, just the numbers, right? Like that's such a big difference. So listen, everybody, we want you to make sure that, one, you get educated on what Marilyn is talking about, but also to go out there and find out if you can be a match for someone. Get yourself in the database so that somebody who really needs your help can get it. You heard Marilyn say that it's a blood test, it's a swab test, and then it's taking blood, right? So we want to make sure, and you may have to go through some testing and all of that, but nothing like what they used to do in the past, right? Technology has come a long way, medicine has come a long way, and this is where the trust needs to come back into play, right? To understand that, okay, the healthcare system is changing, not to say that there aren't disparities, because you just mentioned they're a huge one, right?
Yeah.
There are disparities, and there will continue to be if we don't align ourselves with people like Marilyn to, one, get educated, and two, to start donating so that our communities are not so widely and affected by this difference. This disparity is huge. I mean, I'm just like in awe, right, about that.
And
So
it's self-caused. And self-caused.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not there. Our matches are out there. They just haven't joined yet.
Yeah. So now at the event on September 16th, are you having people swab and
Absolutely. Every time I go out, every
right.
time I do a speaking engagement, I'm also a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a nurse, right, by trade. But every time I go out and have an event, we're going to be swabbing people. You can also go, there's a QR code there. When you go on the website, there is a link there for you to join the registry. You answer the questions, you set up your account, the kit comes to your house. You never have to leave your home, right? It comes to you, you swab yourself, you mail it back in. 3 minutes of your time. I've made it so easy, right? So as well as on my website, izzyslegacies.com, you can purchase my book. Anyone interested in buying my book, the 100% of the proceeds, and I'll just show you what it looks like. 100% of the proceeds go right to the nonprofit. It's also available on Amazon.com, but if you order it through the website, you'll get an autographed copy sent right from me.
Amen. And talk a little bit about the book and what you're sharing in the book. I love the title too, When the Answer is No.
Right. It's called When the Answer is No, Finding Purpose Through Pain. On the cover is my daughter and myself and the towers. So it talks about my journey as a public health nurse in New York City when the World Trade Center was hit. I was on the ground, firsthand account, but most importantly is the PTSD that followed after that. Right. So usually we talk about PTSD and we think of veterans of war. Well, the war was brought to us, right, as civilians, and we weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. So I suffered from everything that I saw, experienced, went back into ground zero to help with displaced residents, but the aftermath of that for all New Yorkers that were there was a lot of us there, right? But I had to bring myself back from that, right? So I talk about the steps that I used holistically to help myself to heal. And then the second half of it is the journey of Isabella. It's the story of Isabella, of her diagnosis of that, and being able to overcome grief using holistic methods. So when you pray and hope for a positive outcome to a negative situation, sometimes it feels like the universe is telling us, no, you can't get what you prayed for. I always say, imagine being a nurse and not being able to save your own child. How does that feel? Right? And being faithful. I'm a cradle Catholic, full of faith. And I felt that God and medicine had let me down. But I had to come back from that. I had to come back to myself. I'm never going to be the person that I was before those things happened. I'm a different version of myself, right? But I had to come back to this person who now will fight like hell to make sure that other people don't have to go through what I did, that it's a little bit easier for them to overcome these things. And I share with you tips and tools for that. And by sharing that and helping you to heal, I'm also giving forward, right? Paying it forward by being able to fund this nonprofit so I can continue to educate others.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And so grateful for you for doing that, right? Because, you allowed your situation to have purpose after the fact, right? And a lot of times that's what God is calling us to do, even though in those moments we just don't understand why, right? Um, and we can be faithful, but we're still human, right? And the loss that you suffered is like no other, right? So for you to come out of this and say, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this, and this is going to be her legacy, and I'm going to help those where she could not, where she got the help because you advocated for her, right? But where other people just don't know, right? And they don't have the people that are educated in their life to be able to advocate. Here you are stepping in and saying, let me help you get through this. Let me show you how you can. Let me go out there and get the people that are going to now help the situations for our communities, right? Because this is so much bigger than just one person who needs a donor. This is about a full community of people where you gave the numbers, 79% down to 29 and on down, right? So you're now saying, I need to help our communities because we need to save our people and our children, right? So that we don't have to deal with this on a large scale as we are right now. So, I just want to commend you for that, because most people don't have the strength to do that, to take this now and say, I'm going to change this around so that I can help other people. And I want to commend your daughter also.
Yes.
For
she was my inspiration. She was totally my inspiration. When you talk about finding purpose through pain, from that moment on, she dedicated her life. She was always very focused. I want to be somebody. She actually started out wanting to be a child life specialist, which was the person that helped her navigate through her sister's illness and helped her to heal. So she was focused on being that person to help families like ours, and fell into this during college while she was, because she saw her family as she was growing up doing drives. When she joined the sorority, she went to Montclair State University, shout out to them, right? She joined the sorority and said, hey, why don't we have a drive, right? And she was becoming very active within that community and said, I'd really like to do a drive in honor of my sister, and ended up meeting people that would then invite her to have an internship with them because of her passion for it, and then give her a job doing this. And she was like, I never thought that this is where I would end up, but she's living her dream. And she every day honors her sister. When she tells the story of her sister, I call her my sister's keeper, right? So every day people are learning about Isabella, and that's how we keep our children's memory alive. That's, Isabella will continue to live, right? No one will ever forget her. I've now written a book. Her sister talks about her every day. And when lives are saved, it's going to be because of Izzy, because of everything that she went through was not for nothing, right? And I said, I used to pray to God after I lost her, please don't let her life be for nothing. Before I die, let me know that everything that she went through was because of a higher purpose. And I didn't have to wait long. I will tell you that. I lost her in October, and in March of the following year, I was called back to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to tell me, the research doctor that I donated her cord blood to research. I did that. I donated her cord blood. She wanted to meet my husband and I to let us know that she had found the genetic mutation that caused her cancer, right? And that it actually furthered her research. It was like a birthday present to herself, because she now went back to these lab specimens that she had of other children and found the very same mutation.
Wow.
So now,
when you think about that too, thinking about the fact that now the doctors have information that could save a life now. If they find this mutation in someone else, now they have more information about it, right? So
so they can target. They can now develop medications that target that. They can, identify that. It took weeks to get a final diagnosis, right? Now it becomes that much faster, because now we know there's this mutation. Now let's look for this mutation. Now that we know that this is it, and this is what caused it, right? And with her, it was not familial. They tested us to see if we had a genetic trait. Turned out to be negative. So it was not genetic. It was a fluke. What that fluke was related to, what caused that cancer key to turn on, we don't know. Right now, we can't identify what caused it. All we know is that something did.
Yeah. And I was in that same situation. No one ever in my family had breast cancer. I didn't have the genes, nothing. So,
what caused it?
Right.
It can't be stress in my 7-month-old child.
Yeah.
It wasn't stress. It wasn't that. I don't know. I can't tell you. There's nothing that points to any one thing or the other. a lot of different theories out there of what could be. We'll never know. We'll never know. Not in this lifetime. But in this lifetime, she's advanced medicine. In this lifetime, she is active in saving lives by bringing advocacy, by showing us from the other side, hey, I did this. You guys have to continue the fight. The fight is real. Continue the fight. And we're doing it.
And okay, so powerful, because when you speak about her legacy, right, you're talking in the present tense of what she's doing right now for those of us who are right here. So you can make me cry, Marilyn. But I was just listening to you talk about her life as it goes on. You know what I mean? So it's up to us to continue. Still here. Yeah. Oh,
and that's what I tell mothers. That's what I tell mothers when they go, how do I move forward from this?
Yeah.
It's because the only thing we want to know is that our children continue to live.
Yeah.
They don't stop being mothers. They don't stop being our children.
Yeah.
Right. And it's in the past, it used to be, and this is again one of those generational chains, is both my grandmothers lost children. Both of them separately lost children, but you never heard about them. You never saw a photograph. Right. And that was that pain that they kept on, and it changed the way that they parented their other children.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to break this damn chain. Okay. And we're not going to do this. And you're going to know her name. You're going to know her face. Right. And my descendants now will have something to look at and say, shoot, grandma wrote about this. Oh, my great aunt, if I don't have grandchildren, right? My family, my descendants will know and will not feel afraid to speak on this.
Yeah.
To know that you can come out on the other side, and that we have a responsibility that if we come through something, to turn around and say, okay, you guys, you can do this too.
Yeah.
Don't be selfish. Don't keep it to yourself.
Powerful. Yes. Yes, girl. So powerful. So powerful. Listen, guys, you see, her strength, and she's just an amazing woman, and out here doing some miraculous things to save lives. And no mistake that, you are in the place that you're in right now, that you had, over 20 years or 30 years of experience in the healthcare.
37 years being a nurse.
Wow. Well, you don't look like you've been in it for 37 years.
Well, thank you. Remember, I started young. It was like I had a baby at 17.
I want to go back to that for 1 minute. That's commendable too, because you said you started at 15 in a special school for nurses. How did you know that that's where you wanted to be? And you said you had a science mind back then too. So
absolutely scientifically minded. I was an avid reader as a child, right? And my mother, who I credit for everything that I've done, because everybody talks about their strength. I call it resilience. I wasn't born resilient. I was taught resilience by this woman. Right, came from another country, or Puerto Rico, who's part of the United States. But anyway, who didn't know the way here, found the way, and instilled in me an independence and resilience to be able to move forward from that. Right, and I knew I actually wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician. Right, as a little girl, I played doctor, and I wanted this. And I had a mom who, even though I grew up in lower income projects of Brooklyn, right. And I call that girl Madi from the block, right? That's what it was before I became this person, right? So Madi was this girl who was growing up in the projects, who had a mom who said, don't look at your surroundings, look within. And whatever you want, you can achieve. And don't listen to the chatter of the people around you who are saying that you cannot. Don't listen to the people who say, who do you think you are? You're just like us, and we need to stay here. No. Keep your eye on the prize and keep going, keep going, keep going. Right? Yeah. I will always back you up. And she always did. But when I wanted to start off, I remember being in grade school, and one of my brothers was graduating from middle school. And at that time, the graduation was going to be held at this high school across the street from Clara Barton High School. So we were driving there to find it. And I saw the big medical symbol on the building. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, this is a high school for the health professions. So that if you want to become a health professional, this is where you're going to go. So I was like, that's where I'm going.
I love it.
That was it. And
and even that, when you think about that, even that is profound, where you're looking up, right? And you are always looking up. Yes, man. Ooh, Oh, you guys, listen, this has been absolutely amazing. You are now one of my favorite people, Marilyn. I just want to tell you that.
Thank you.
Just
You're
because
one of
of
mine
just
too.
who you are, like who you are, just deep down in your core. It's all over you. The light is all over you. I want everybody to go out there. I want you to go to izzyslegacy.com or izzyslegacyinc.org. Donate to this event. If you are in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area, or if you just want to come to New Jersey in September, we want to see you at the event. So get your tickets today. I will be there. My son will actually be volunteering. He's one of the 16-year-olds. Him and Izzy actually shared their 2 days apart in their birthdays in March. So we want to see you out there. Come join us. Come get swabbed. Come help save our communities. We definitely want to see you. It's again September 16th. You guys saw the flyer. Go to the websites where the website links are going to be posted on the Whole Living Show page. So make sure that you go to the show page and you can just click the link right from there and get your ticket or donate to this event. Tell people about it. We want you to share the event as well. Let people know what's happening because we need to kind of close the gap on this disparity. And we have this beautiful woman here who is very intentional about making sure that that happens. So listen, get behind this, everybody. So I want you to just give everybody some final last words, something that you want them to know, either about you, about Izzy's legacy, or about healthcare. Tell us what you want people to know.
So please visit the website. Like I said, it's as easy as signing up. If the only thing you do is join the registry, then that's all I need, right? That makes me happy. If you join the registry and say yes, just say yes to saving a life, that makes all the difference in the world. If you love the way that I am, go to Unscripted at Marilyn Morales on YouTube. Follow, like, and subscribe because this is real talk. This is me. No matter where I am, this is me. And we talk a lot about different conversations of people and their challenges and how they overcame them, and how you can overcome things too. Remember that that's all you need is a desire to want to do better. That's all you need. And you will. Believe and you will.
Amen. Amen. We thank you, everybody. I can't even follow that, right? We just thank you for being here. I thank Marilyn for being here and sharing your story, your journey, and everything that you're doing for our communities. We just want to thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, for being out there listening, commenting, sharing. We appreciate you. We love you. We want to see you back here next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Wednesday, we will have this beautiful soul, Raul Marin, who's coming on next week, who Marilyn actually knows as well.
Yes,
he'll be here next week. Yeah, he will be here next week, everybody. So make sure that you tune in again next week, and we will see you then.